Hello, Pod Smashers of the internet, and welcome to another 80-bit newscast.
Oh, my Santa hat. I need my Santa hat.
You don't have your Santa hat on. That's quite all
I have
right.
my
Tonight,
Santa hat
we are going to run you guys through another week of video game industry news right here at 80-bit Pod Smash's Twitch stream, located at twitch.tv/80bitpodsmash. Each and every Monday, right here on twitch.tv, we meet you at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time to run you through this news. So thank you. I am your host, Termite, and that is...
I am Penguin.
And we are Termite and Penguin and Termite. Penguin, Termite. Who knows what we're doing? Every single week we have a podcast that goes live called 80-Bit Pod Smash. That is our weekly gaming podcast, smashing together ideas that you care about with video games, where gaming goes to grab a beer. And we moved our news segment from that show to here. And tonight we are going to run through
a whole bunch of stuff. We are going to be talking about, we're going to catch up, we're going to do a quick rundown of like all the things that were announced at the Game Awards. We're going to talk about an update regarding Halo Infinite. We're going to talk about an update regarding Prince of Persia. We're going to talk about some stuff from the PS5 setting records. And we're going to talk about some stuff about CD Projekt Red. Regarding Cyberpunk's release. So there was also a joint statement made by Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony that we'll hit on if we have time, and hopefully and we'll talk about what that's all about when we get to it. So as always, feel free to give your feedback in the comments, and we will respond to it at the end. We're going to blast through all this news first, and then we will engage with you. So feel free to drop something in the chat, and we will try to scroll through and find it. If we have a ton, we will try to cover as many as possible. And is there anything I'm missing?
That's it. Let's go.
All right, let's do it. So, is there an order you wanted to do this in? Just go in the order that we have here on our notes?
I moved Game Awards to the top, so we'll start with that first, and then we'll go the rest of the order of the way. So, what are some
the Game Awards?
Yeah.
Again, are more than just awards, and though they're we might talk about some of the things that won, we'll definitely talk about Game of the Year. But mostly it's also kind of like a mini E3 in that there's a ton of announcements and stuff like that too. So we're going to hit the highlights of that as well. So take it away, Termite. You have a whole list of things you want to cover on that, yeah?
Sure, yes. So IGN reports, this is an article on IGN by Felicia Miranda. Go give her the link over there on IGN about the Game Awards 2020, all the game announcements. And I'm only just going to hit the highlights because we could do a 3-hour show about the Game Awards.
But there was nothing that was like so crazy that we feel that we need to, so we can hit them all. We can probably talk about everything here.
Yeah. So there was a lot of updates on a lot of previously announced indie titles and smaller titles, and hardly anything new was announced, although there was some. But the biggest thing right off the bat was Sephiroth is a character in Smash Bros, which was an amazing reveal event. They showed
it was so good.
Mario.
It was funny 'cause I was slightly ahead of him in the stream. And so he's like, don't say who it is. And I'm like, okay, but you can't stop me from reacting. Right. So I'll just react and not say who it was. And so it was just that moment of like, they're fighting the big thing from the campaign, and then they'll slice down the middle, and then you hear dun 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 dun. I immediately was like, oh, no,
Sephiroth.
So good.
Yeah, and him fighting all the Smash characters, and then that shadow of him stabbing Mario, quote unquote, through the neck, but it was actually just him hooking the overalls. Was really, really well done.
Now, like, Ridley impaled, like in Ridley's reveal trailer, they showed him impaling like Mario and Mega Man.
Yeah.
So I don't know why they suddenly decided to like fake us out when they had actually already shown Mario get impaled once. Whatever, it's fine. But go ahead.
So yep, Sephiroth, another entry from Final Fantasy, is now in Smash, and the next big thing was a new Perfect Dark was revealed in a cinematic trailer. And I'm going to read the blurb.
Know nothing about it, but it's going to be...
Yeah, all you get from these like teaser trailers, these cinematic teasers, is just kind of like the tone of the game.
Yeah.
And so this says, from IGN, coming from the studio The Initiative, the cinematic trailer for the new Perfect Dark game featuring some cool first-person eco-sci-fi visuals was shown. The developers confirmed the game is still early in development. I imagine it is. And the Initiative is a studio that is now in the Xbox family. It was one of those newly acquired studios out of Santa Monica. And I'm trying to get a list of some of the games they are known to make. And
they sound familiar, for what it's worth.
they may not have had a game yet. They were founded in
Oh,
2018. So, Products
wow.
Perfect Dark, this is their first game. So, they're a
Mm.
combination of people from Crystal Dynamics, Santa Monica, Naughty Dog, um,
And it's
Blizzard, Insomniac.
Xbox exclusive, yeah.
Yep, that's what I said earlier.
Okay. Yeah, I'm
I already said that.
so. Yes, I know you said it, but I didn't remember you saying it.
Oh,
'Cause
oh,
my
okay.
brain doesn't work.
Yeah.
All
the creators,
keep rolling, keep rolling,
the
keep
creators
rolling.
of Left 4 Dead: Turtle Rock fully revealed Back for Blood, a
Yeah,
first-person zombie shooter with co-op launching in 2021. This really
they
did
showed
look like
gameplay
Left 4
too.
Dead, like the
Yeah, it was
tonal,
like a updated.
everything. Yeah.
Yep, this looks so good. It looks exciting, and I never played Left 4 Dead, so I'm super excited about playing this, and then maybe catching up on Left 4 Dead if I can get you alone in a room for like 2 hours and play.
Well, you have to get rid of the pandemic first. There's that.
If I can just get rid of the pandemic.
Right.
I haven't put any effort towards it thus far, so let me actually start working on getting rid of the pandemic.
Yes, you
I haven't
have.
knocked
You
out-
wear a mask and you
I
distance
haven't
yourself.
knocked out in a couple of weeks.
Yep.
No, but I mean, really put my efforts towards it. I'll find a cure. Give me a sec. All right, keep going. Roll.
Disco Elysium, the final cut,
Mhm.
is coming to consoles in 2021. And the reason why I announced this is because I've never played the game, but I've heard it is amazing and it's been a PC exclusive for a while. And I find it very difficult to jump over to PC because I care about
Yeah.
trophies too much. And so this is now coming to PlayStation, and I hope that we get a chance to play it because it looks awesome.
It was it didn't win Game of the Year, but it won a ton of awards in last year, I think, Game Awards. So I think it actually won the most awards of any game last year. So even though I don't think it was even up for Game of the Year last year, but it still won a ton of awards for the categories it was up for. So yeah, highly critically received game.
Yep. And now they're doing voiceovers for every line of dialogue and new quests. So sounds awesome. And then we did get an update from BioWare of what's going on with Dragon Age 4. They just gave us a sneak peek again. It looks to confirm the return of some fan favorite characters, of which I know nothing about because I never played Dragon Age, but I'm dying to play Dragon Age. I have them all on my shelf right here, ready to go on PlayStation 3 and 4 respectively. So Dragon Age 4 looks awesome. We know BioWare is busy. They're working on Anthem, they're working on Dragon Age, they're working on a Mass Effect trilogy, and they're working on a new Mass Effect, which we'll get to in a
Which
second.
is also announced. Well, we're also like confirmed to be a direct sequel to the trilogy in whatever way that whatever time gap that is. It is a continuation of the narrative from Mass Effect 3, and though that was confirmed, I believe that was confirmed in the original announcement. In this case, it actually was like shown. They demonstrated that by having one of the Asura. I don't know enough about Mass Effect, but like I know the Asura race. It was one of the more famous Asura characters. You see her under a hood, and she holds the like Commander Shepard's like armor designation number.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So yep. So that's cool. Anything else?
There was a really cool bit with the Swedish chef being a playable character in Overcooked, which is really cool. That was hilarious. So go check that out. Arc 2 was announced with this long cinematic trailer of Vin Diesel. Looking like Kratos mixed with Aloy, and it was weird. And I don't know what's going on.
Were clunky and weird. There's just something about the way his character animation moved that did not like seem like Vin Diesel. But yes, it was Vin Diesel though.
And apparently he's played 1,000 hours of Arc 1, and he's now going to be, it was announced today, he's going to be one of the studio heads of the studio that's going to make Arc 2. So now he's a game developer.
Oh wow, what a renaissance man.
Yeah, like okay. Fall Guys got a season 3 trailer, which looks awesome. It actually drops tomorrow on the 15th. The Evil Dead, there's a game announced for that, which again, it was just a teaser trailer, but it was the movie, and it looks like it's hilarious as the movie is. But we don't really know much about what it'll be. 4 playable characters.
Wacky. It did look like it was. They showed off a little bit of gameplay, and it looked like it was kind of like over the shoulder, maybe like a Fortnite-ish kind of look, but with like a thriller, horror, survival game, something like that. Yeah. I don't know if it's cooperative or competitive, but it is multiplayer, I think.
Yeah. IGN says 4 different playable characters, but that's it. So we don't know if it's. Hopefully,
we don't even know if it's co-op yet.
Right.
Okay.
Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection was announced for the Nintendo Switch, and kind of the only announcement for the Switch for Nintendo. The whole thing.
Other than Sephiroth, yep.
Yep, we got an update on the PS5 exclusive Returnal, which is coming out March 19th, 2021. So we got a date.
Crazy awesome.
It really does.
Action game. Yeah, action game with sort of roguelike elements where you kind of repeat the same, like either roguelike or like Outer Wilds, Majora's Mask, where you kind of repeat the same time frame over and over again, time loop. So.
Hopefully in a unique way that's fun, because I want to get into that.
It looks sweet.
There was an update to Oddworld if you care, and Among Us got a new map. Master Chief comes to Fortnite. I'm just rapid firing this stuff. And then it ended with the Mass Effect teaser trailer, which everyone supposedly lost their minds on, but it was digital, so we don't really know. I imagine the crowd would have lost their minds. But yeah, so that's the Game Awards and all those fun announcements. Game of the Year was
Last of Us Part 2.
Hashtag
no
Termite was
there.
right. Well, Last of Us Part 2 won and cleaned up way too many awards. No, I wouldn't say too many. It earned every one of them.
It won a lot. It got a lot this time. Yeah, it got a lot this time. So
7, I think. It won 7 awards, I believe.
I will just simply say, as a side note, that I saw an article that was like, the award for best direction should not go to any studio that resorts to crunch. And I think I agree with that because game direction should be, the game was well managed. And apparently Hades, Supermassive, they did not subject their employees to crunch, and it was up for best direction. So I think that one should have gone to Hades instead of Last of Us, because Last of Us did have to they did make their employees crunch. So that is a conversation I think that will be had probably at next year's Game Awards.
Probably.
So because think about it, if you say this game was directed well and the directors had to resort to crunch, that's a tacit approval of crunch culture, right?
Well, it depends on what your definition of crunch is. Not all crunch is the same. Some is more egregious. Some is not that bad. Some workers are compensated with a promise of a bonus and want to crunch, and some don't. So then you get into all the gray area in between and the nastiness of it. And then you lay an award, which is supposed to be objective, clear cut. Like, you can't take a gray thing and make it black and white without losing something. So
that's why a company like Supermassive, who publicly came out and said that they were able to accomplish this game without resorting to crunch at all of any kind, while encouraging their employees to take breaks and creating a culture that in and of itself qualifies it for best direction, in my opinion. But that's not necessarily Game of the Year. You know what I mean? Like that's the difference here. Is we're not talking about Game of the Year. We're talking about best directed game. Yeah. Which is the category. So, anyways. That was a side note I thought it was worth bringing up and discussing.
Yeah, there is definitely some articles about that because it came up in the gaming industry. People were talking about it, so go check it out.
But like crunch is also a fairly new conversation, so making its way to the upper echelons of people actually, making these decisions is going to take time, I think. So I don't necessarily fault them, but I think it's still good to point out and make an effort to sort of say, yeah, let's make this a change. Let's not award bad behavior from a developer. So cool. All right. Anything else that you want to talk about? The Game Awards. It was a big week.
It was. So, there's a lot to go into.
Right. Yep. All right. Cool. So let's move on. We're 13 minutes in. So we got plenty of time. So tell me about Halo Infinite's update. I didn't actually read it. So.
Halo Infinite release date is set for fall of 2021. First multiplayer map was also revealed. This article comes by way of Matt Kim over at IGN as well. 343 Industries has announced that Halo Infinite will ship fall of 2021 and revealed further details on certain aspects of Halo Infinite, including graphics, art, and customization. In August, Microsoft announced that it decided to delay Halo Infinite from its holiday 2020 release. That was the infamous delay off of its Xbox Series X release day into next year. Well, now we know it's coming in the fall. And there were some details about
smart move. A nice solid year of delay. That's great. That's great. That's like gives them time to polish the game up, which is just what it needed. I mean, the animations, everything looked fine. It was just the graphics that looked kind of crappy for a next-gen Halo game. So, yeah.
And they actually have some updates regarding what they're going to be working on. So, with the graphics and art improvement, the most complete look at Halo Infinite was revealed during the showcase earlier this year in the summer. However, the demo received blowback after failing to meet expectations. 343 addressed these points directly in a new blog post, quoting... quote, "The reality is that the art and visuals weren't at the bar we hold for Halo, even in a work-in-progress state," said 343's Director of Art Management, Neil Harrison. Quote, "Much of the feedback we heard from the community aligned with our own views and work we were already committed to doing around things like indirect lighting, material response, foliage and tree rendering, clouds, level of detail transitions, and character fidelity." 343 Development Manager for graphics, Annie Shastri, also added that visual fidelity is a very important goal for Halo Infinite, and the graphics and art teams have been continuously aspiring and working closely with each other to create the best-looking Halo game ever. And lastly, the developers even talked about Craig, the infamous brute, whose emotionless face became a meme. He said, "I can confirm that the facial animation of NPCs were not fully implemented in that summer build, which resulted in Craig's incredibly deadpan, lifeless look."
I can't wait for them to like riff off of that. They need a scene where they just like zoom in on a brute's face while like Master Chief punches it or something, and just like really show off the detail in like a cinematic. And then I don't know, there needs to be a trophy for Craig the Brute.
There needs to be, and
or not trophy. I'm sorry, achievement, whatever they call them on their ecosystem. But yeah, they need to riff off of that. Yeah, that'd be great.
Harrison continues to say there's been further work done on the material fidelity and more variety added for brute faces. We're also working to add some hairdos and beards, which was something we hadn't gotten to in July. So whilst we have come to love our dear old Craig, he's certainly undergoing a significant makeover.
That's fantastic. Yep. Good for them. I think that sounds really good, and I'm now more excited for the game because I want to see what Halo looks like in next gen, just like everybody else. Which is what we wanted in August.
There's a little bit more details. I won't read the whole thing because it's a lot, but apparently there's like this material customization that they're going to apply to armor and gun skins, allowing not just the skin of a gun to be changed, but also how it's like scratched up and how it's dinged and how it's worn down.
That's cool.
And it's way more customizable and creating so many more unique possibilities than have ever been in a Halo game before. So like visor cracks and scratches on your helmet and shoulders, pads, etc. Sounds fun. Yep.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of updates on games, there is the Prince of Persia: Sands of Time. The first game is being remade, and that remake has been delayed
because of COVID-19 and the many complications that a year like 2020 has presented. A tweet from the official Ubisoft UK Twitter account announces the remake, which was originally revealed earlier September, and it was scheduled for release in January, has now been delayed to March 18th. And I read Joseph Knoop over at IGN as well. They have been feeding my week worth of news. But March 18th, 2021 is now the date, so it was almost a 3-month delay on the Prince of Persia remake. So if you guys care about that, you have to wait 3 more months.
It didn't look that good to me.
It didn't.
It just didn't look that like a remake. I don't know. Maybe my standard for remake the bar has been set so high by Capcom and Square Enix that like now if you're gonna slap the word remake onto it, it better be a full graphical overhaul. Because this just looked like a glorified remaster to me, and I wasn't digging it. So
it is a $40 remake. And I think $40 remakes are in a different like league than like Demon Souls $60 remakes.
It bugs me. Call it something different. Yeah, if it's going to be remade, I want it to be a completely new. Part of me says it should be made with a completely new engine, and it should be a complete reimagining of the game.
It's weird because you have smaller.
That would be so good. Prince of Persia as like a modern platformer, Uncharted kind of, mix somewhere between Uncharted and Devil May Cry would be freaking awesome.
Yeah.
Where it has like the hack and slash action, but has some of that high octane. That would be amazing. But yeah, this just looks like a remaster. So I'm okay. It's delayed. Yep. Maybe I'll get it. Who knows?
We'll follow it, and we'll see how it reviews in March.
Sure, for sure. All right, so CD Projekt Red, there's some news here as well. So not only did Cyberpunk launch this week, same day as the Game Awards, but it has been in the news. So the first kind of piece of news, the first thing I'll say, because we'll kind of talk about a couple of different connected things, but in order, more or less, they happened. So the first thing was that was evident on the day one was that the PS4 base console and the Xbox One base console, the ones that came out almost a decade ago, did not run the game well at all. There were,
to say the least,
significant issues with texture, resolution, pop-ins, frame rates. I think that the benchmarks that we'll talk about are that the game would dip down to 720 resolution in certain points, and I think 15 frames per second were the low marks on the base consoles. For a game that was billed and sold as being able to run on the base consoles, it was not a good look for CD Projekt Red. It blew up. It became the story. It was exacerbated by the fact that, they only gave PC copies for reviews, so nobody got to see footage ahead of time, thereby influencing people's pre-orders, et cetera, et cetera. There's whether it's true or not, a narrative began to be spun of CD Projekt Red intentionally obfuscating the state of the game on the base consoles in order to sustain pre-orders and not have a mass exodus from pre-orders. So Yeah, so that was what happened, and kind of was that way for a few days. Um, and
Along the lines of those pre-orders, it has been known recently, in the last couple of days, that CD Projekt Red made all of the game's budget back and profited on pre-orders alone.
yeah, yeah.
So just know
So,
that.
yep, exactly. That's an important part. So CD Projekt Red. So the game was reviewing. It reviewed well on Metacritic from the standpoint of reviewers, from the journalists kind of reviewed it well. Most of them were still harping on technical issues, but for the most part, these are reviewers. They're playing on either high-end PCs because it's their job.
That's all they were playing on.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's all they were playing on is high-end PCs. So no one was able to review it from the perspective of the base consoles. So that affected the Metacritic score. Nevertheless, the staff were told that CD Projekt Red changed their bonus structure. They were originally going to give bonuses based on the Metacritic score, and maybe in anticipation of this problem, they decided to, pretty much like the day after the game came out, they reported that they would be changing their bonus structure and giving bonuses to all of their employees, their developers, despite the Metacritic score, which is great. That's wonderful. Good for them, because the developers are going to get bonuses, and like you said, they made an insane profit on pre-orders. Right. So whether they did it through less than savory means, it doesn't matter. They still made a huge profit. So, again, that deserves to go to the developers, whether or not the game reviews well. So yeah, then the next big thing was there were a couple of patches to try to improve performance. Still hasn't really gotten there. So where we are now is that as of today, CD Projekt Red announced that they would be offering refunds, universal refunds, to people basically who want it. So normally you can't get refunds through digital copies on the PlayStation Network, but if you submit a ticket with PSN, they will offer you a refund. I believe the same is true with Microsoft. And then as for physical copies of the game, they said talk to your retailers and you can get a refund. So normally a developer, the retailer developer relationship has stipulations about what can and cannot be refunded, digital and physical copies. CD Projekt Red is basically saying we will offer full refunds to anyone who wants them. We will not get in the way of any refunds. And it's up to the individual retailers from there on out. So that sucks.
Yeah.
I mean, the only other situation I can think of that was anything close to that in the last 2 years was Anthem. Anthem, BioWare kind of offered, or EA kind of offered universal refunds for Anthem. And so if a game is like Anthem level frustrating for players, that so much so that the developer has to offer refunds like this, that's bad. And to support how bad that is, there was an article from Bloomberg that I don't know if do we include links in the show notes?
I do on YouTube, yeah.
Yep. Okay, we should. I'll add that to the list of links. But there was a Bloomberg article that demonstrated how today, after that announcement, the stock price plummeted by about a third of its value, I think.
Yep.
Is what they said.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's hitting them hard. It's hitting them hard. But most importantly, I think it's hitting their reputation hard, because the big deal is that people trusted them to put out a polished product, and it was not polished.
No, it was not. Let's rewind the clock just a little bit, because you went really fast. Sure. You just blew through a bunch of news stories.
I blew through a bunch of points. Yeah, I did. I wanted to kind of hit the.
I want to talk about Metacritic again. So you talked about the reviews. All of the review copies were high-end PCs. Only the people who were reviewing the game were only allowed to show footage provided by CD Projekt Red, further obfuscating the user's experience when they were rating this game. This literally buffs the Metacritic score. Like, everything CD Projekt Red did in advance, prior to the release of the game, was to preserve that Metacritic score. All things, to them, their shareholders and their company bonuses were tied to the Metacritic score. And they wanted to make sure that sucker was as high as they could get it. And so they did everything they could, legally, to allow that to happen. And it did. It worked out for them. It was 91, was the Metacritic score on... and then it went down to 90 before some things happened. And then the game came out, and then it was released to the masses. And then they kind of started backpedaling. They knew this console was not, or the console versions were janky. They knew it was busted and broken, and they still tried to hedge their bets as best they could. And this is where CD Projekt Red looks scummy. Before,
scummy,
they had a crunch problem, and they kind of addressed it, and a lot of people spoke up from different angles, and CD Projekt Red was almost put in this, okay, if you're going to crunch, CD Projekt Red's doing it right. Everyone's getting paid, everyone's getting compensated, everyone's getting bonuses. Okay, that may have been true, making CD Projekt Red look kind of good in silver lining, right? And then the game comes out and this happens, where they manipulate the entire review process and then they try to backpedal and ask for forgiveness. To this day, I mean, right now, it's in a horrible, unplayable, buggy state, and they've claimed everyone gets refunds. And if you look on Reddit, there are droves of people that have interacted with Sony, and Sony's not giving them refunds because it doesn't meet their policy. And they're like, but CD Projekt Red said, and Sony's like, it's not our policy. But CD Projekt Red promised, it's not our policy. So now they're all flooding CD Projekt Red with emails. They can't meet the demand of the refunds they're trying to get. Their stock is plummeting. They've lost a third of their value. And then we get this tweet today. And I do want to read this because this is a non-explanatory apology.
Yeah.
They never addressed the issue. The issue they need to answer here is, why did you release a buggy base console game that did not meet any of the promises or expectations at all?
You sold to base consoles. Like you said, this was going to be playable and look relatively like this on a base console. Yep. I mean, that wasn't explicitly the promise, but they let that belief sit. As much as they could, they obfuscated that. So yeah, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Read the
Dear gamers.
So that being the problem.
Yeah.
What is their statement?
This is the executive officers of CD Projekt Red. Dear gamers, first of all, we would like to start by apologizing to you for not showing the game on base last-gen consoles before it premiered, and, in consequence, not allowing you to make a more informed decision about your purchase. We should have paid more attention to making it play better on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. That's a good statement. They apologized exactly with what the issue is. They did not try to, But second, we will fix bugs and crashes and improve the overall experience. The first round of updates has just been released, and the next one is coming within the next 7 days. That's right. This was tweeted today. So 7 days from now, we should get another patch. I'm excited. Expect more, as we will update frequently whenever new improvements are ready. After the holidays, we'll continue working. We'll release 2 large patches, starting with patch 1 in January. This will be followed by patch 2 in February. Together, these should fix the most prominent problems gamers are facing on last-gen consoles. We will be informing you about the contents of each patch ahead of their release. They won't make the game on last-gen look like it's running on a high-end PC or next-gen console, but it will be closer to that experience than it is now. Finally, we would always like everyone who buys our games to be satisfied with their purchase. We would appreciate it if you would give us a chance. But if you are not pleased with the game on your console and don't want to wait for updates, you can opt to refund your copy. For copies purchased digitally, please use the refund system of PSN or Xbox respectively, which isn't working. For box versions, please first try to get a refund at the store where you bought the game. Should this not be possible, please contact us there's the email, and we will do our best to help you. Starting from today, you can contact us for a week up until December 21st. So they're only opening these emails up for a week. And P.S., postscript, PC gamers will also be getting regular updates and fixes improving the game. So, what do you think of that? It's a mess.
It is. It's a mess.
They really, really, really messed this up.
Yeah.
Badly.
It's definitely, like I said, their reputation now. This is what people will remember. This is the last experience people will remember with CD Projekt Red until their next game comes out. So you bet their next game is going to be sullied by this, and you bet it's going to affect the pre-orders on their next game. Because that's the thing. The game sold so well pre-order wise because it was the CD Projekt Red trust, right? Everybody had the last flavor of CD Projekt Red was The Witcher, which was The Witcher 3, which was not only Game of the Year, but it was this incredibly generous. They had so many DLCs and cosmetics that they just gave you for free. The DLCs themselves were incredibly meaty, fully fledged, 40-hour experiences, and that's what everybody remembered and was expecting from CD Projekt Red. So to with all the news leading, I mean, I was getting a bad feeling about the game with all the news leading up to, because again, though crunch doesn't automatically mean that there's mismanagement, it certainly is a piece of evidence towards that. You know what I mean? So to me, the game was it was scaring me how much there was so much evidence of mismanagement, and now the proof is in the pudding, right?
Yeah.
So the sad thing, the frustrating thing is that you and I have discussed is the game is actually pretty good if you have a system that can run it.
Yep.
If you have a PC that can run it, I've got friends, coworkers who are playing it on PC that have decent enough PCs to run it. They're loving it. You and I are playing it on our 5s, and we love it. Like, it's great. It's a good game. So to see it marred by such mismanagement and poor expectation management, is just it's unfortunate.
Yep.
It's just really unfortunate. Honestly, I think at this point it's safe. It's safe to say the game should have been either been a PS5 game or waited another year. It should have been delayed I would say as much as Halo Infinite. And now Halo's looking great in comparison, right? Like now 343 is looking pretty. They're probably like, oh, thank God we made the right decision. Didn't try to push this out, because this is what happens when expectations are poorly managed when it comes to what you say you're selling and then what you sell. So crazy.
I would love to be a business major and know how these businesses work from the inside, because there's got to be a reason why they could not delay it anymore.
Right.
Investors, it's how they pay their staff. They are a staff of 500 folks. They have revenue streams. They run good old games.com. They have Gwent, microtransactions. There is money coming from the Witcher series in some regard with its ongoing sales digitally and physically. It's still selling, so the game's still out there. They have money coming in, but it's not enough to sustain a 500 employee staff, fully development, crunch time, all these things. So I know they were relying on the Cyberpunk 2077 release to kind of cash out and to like pay everyone to make those promises, especially if they were taking payroll loans to keep everybody paid. Who knows? Like, that's the stuff that's fascinating to me. There was a reason they could not delay this anymore, and I don't know why. All we see it as, from the consumer perspective, is should have pushed this out another year, but we can't
from
make
just
that
a
claim.
Sheer game development statement. If you were to look at the game development itself in a bubble, then yes, the smart decision would be to have delayed it. But you're right. This game's been in the works for, the better part of the decade now. I mean, they started development on this when they started development on Witcher 3.
Right.
So the development of those two games happened side by side, and then, so it's just been in the oven for so long. I imagine that you're right. There was a ton of pressure to get it out the gate. All right, cool. I think that's all that needs to be said. Do you have any other thoughts on that before we go? We have a couple more news stories.
Oh, you still want to go? All right, well, let's do it.
Well, okay, I just do you mind there was some news about the PS5 setting records for the biggest console launch of all time. Did you want just like a 2-sentence?
It is a 2-sentence.
Okay, great.
All right, so from IGN, Adam Bankhurst, the PlayStation 5 was November 2020's best-selling hardware platform in consumer spending, and it had the highest launch month unit and dollar sales for a video game hardware platform in U.S. history, breaking the previous record held by PlayStation 4 in November 2013.
Wow, congratulations. Yay.
Yep, and there's
Probably
a whole bunch
something about our economy.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right, cool. I don't think anything's more specific about that. This is our last thing, the next news story. So again, speak now or forever hold your peace. If you have any feedback, corrections, comments, trolling, whatever you want to get off your chest, drop it in the chat now. The last statement, really quick, is a joint statement was made by Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony to crack down on harassment in their games in order to create a more safe gaming environment for young players, specifically for youths, minors, etc., etc. So, did you want to hit on anything
the highlights
about that?
Here are from Polygon.com. Nicole Carpenter wrote on it, and the full statement is over on Xbox Wire. It's news.xbox.com, and it should be up there at the top. And that was shared by Dave McCarthy, corporate vice president of Xbox operations. I'm not going to read that whole thing because that's huge. But Polygon's,
we'll link off to it.
Polygon synopsis is kind of, here's the joint statement highlights principles that include: we believe that hate and harassment or exploitation of younger players in any way have no place in gaming. We partner with our community to promote safe gaming behavior and encourage the use of reporting tools to call out bad actors. We comply with all local laws and will respond to all lawful requests from law enforcement. We promptly notify law enforcement if we observe unlawful conduct or where we believe a player is at risk of imminent harm. And then, Xbox goes on, we're aligned with both Nintendo on behalf of the community of Nintendo Switch players and PlayStation in our belief that protecting players online requires a multidisciplinary approach that combines the benefits of advanced technology, a supportive community, and skilled human oversight. We can accomplish more when we work toward the same goal, and we will each continue investing in, evolving, and amplifying our approaches to user safety. As we continue this work, we will prioritize protecting the safety of our players, especially those most vulnerable. So,
fantastic. As a parent, I approve of this message.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it's getting nuts, right? I mean, the swatting and the internet toxicity and the death threats and the people like tracking each other down and attacking each other's families and the abuse that everyone has to go through. It's nuts. And it's on Twitch, it's on YouTube, it's on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo. It's everywhere. It's sickening. It's evil. It is wrong. Please
we're taking
know.
away your toys. If you do it, we'll take away your toys.
Yes, and that's how it should be. And yes, we have to give up a little bit of privacy or a little bit of freedoms. Like maybe they do, listen to your voice and they analyze your chat messages. Fine. To stop bad people, evil people on the internet from condemning and hurting others, I agree.
Yep.
Good for them.
With you there. Yep. Cool.
Rant over.
All right. That is our news show. So we went a little longer, but there was a lot to cover. Actually, we're still in pretty good time, actually. So that is it. We are 80-Bit Pod Smash. This is our 80-Bit Newscast. And Termite will tell you all the places you can find us if you want to give us feedback on any of the news stories that we talked about tonight, or just give us feedback on the show in general. So take it away.
There are lots of ways you can interact with us. Most of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and we have a Discord server. You can find us there. And the links to all of those websites are at 80bitpodsmash.com. There's also links to our podcast and all of the services on podcasting services and our RSS feed. So 80bitpodsmash.com, 80bitpodsmash.com is where you want to go to find all things Penguin and Termite. And we are live 3 times a week doing something, creating content for you lovely folks.
Yep. And if you missed this show live, you can watch it on Twitch in the playback, or you can check it out on YouTube for a longer period of time. So more indefinitely. So all right, we're gonna record a podcast.
We are.
So we'll see you next week.
See you next